Where am I? Where's Reznov?
You will answer our questions. Do you understand?
Call of Duty Black Ops, the birth of a now iconic series. But what makes Black Ops such a good game? What do the numbers mean? Where am I? Where's Reznov? Well, strap into your chairs and get ready, because I'm about to answer 2 out of 3 of those questions. Enjoy the video.
Who the hell are you?
That's not important. What's important is who you are. What's your name?
Fuck you!
Where were you born?
Kiss my ass!
Black Ops was released November 9th, 2010, following World at War and Modern Warfare 2. The bar was set high, but this game managed to take it even higher. While I do remember playing that campaign and beating it, I was only 9 when the game came out, so I wasn't quite old enough yet to understand much about it. And I didn't get into the multiplayer too much until a couple of years later. With that said, I've recently gone back to play the campaign, multiplayer, and zombies. I didn't realize it much as I was playing, but looking back at it, I feel I was better able to understand what was really going on. I had a lot more appreciation towards the game than I did when I was younger. By implementing real history into the game's fictional storyline, it brought me into the story even more. I felt I was really involved with what was happening. These newer Call of Duty games have failed to do that for me. Before we get started, it takes a lot of time to put these videos together, so please consider subscribing to the channel for more content like this. The first mission of the campaign brings us to Santa Maria, Cuba to take part in the Bay of Pigs invasion. We are immediately confronted with soldiers walking into the bar, where Woods brings the knife down on one of their hands, smashes a bottle on his face, and draws his weapon. Within the first 3 minutes of the first mission, we are already in the action. Fighting through the streets of Santa Maria, we are on a hunt to find and assassinate Fidel Castro and assist CIA-sponsored Cuban exiles in overthrowing Castro's communist regime. Mason apparently succeeds before realizing the CIA's Cuban rebels are losing against Castro's armed forces. Therefore, he decides to stay behind to protect the extraction plane with Woods and Bowman aboard from an oncoming blockade. Mason is then captured by the real Castro, who reveals that Mason had assassinated a decoy and hands him over to Major General Nikita Dragovich as a gift. He is then held captive at the Vorkuta Gulag, a Russian labor camp, for 2 years. After further interrogation, Mason recounts how during his imprisonment at Vorkuta, he befriended Viktor Reznov, a former Red Army soldier and a returning character from Call of Duty World at War. Reznov assists Mason in sparking a prisoner uprising at Vorkuta, which facilitates Mason's escape from the prison. 1 month after his escape, Mason is escorted to the Pentagon with his handler, Jason Hudson, where he receives authorization from President John F. Kennedy to assassinate Dragovich. Mason briefly envisions pointing a gun at Kennedy. He is then dispatched with Woods and Bowman in the Kazakh SSR to sabotage the Soviet space program. The team saves a captured operative and destroys the Soyuz 2 rocket as it is launched. Dragovich, who is present at the launch, escapes alive, forcing Mason to spend the next 5 years searching for him. By 1968, the SOG, including Mason, are deployed in Vietnam to investigate Soviet presence. After Mason helps defend the military camp at Khe Sanh, he is deployed to Hue during the Tet Offensive to recover the dossier with information on Dragovich from an unnamed defector. The team recovers the dossier and Mason discovers that Reznov is the defector. After Mason escapes Hue City, the campaign shifts to a mission in Kowloon, Hong Kong, where Hudson and Weaver are sent to find and interrogate Dr. Clark, a scientist working under Dragovich. Clark reveals the location of a hidden facility in the Ural Mountains before the trio are ambushed by Dragovich's men. Then, after further interrogation, Mason reveals a story as told to him by Reznov of the history behind Dragovich, his right-hand man, Lev Kravchenko, and German ally Dr. Frederick Steiner.
I know that Jason Hudson briefed you on the intel extracted from Dr. Clark in Kowloon.
Hudson said that Clark was insane. Paranoid. Fixated.
These events take place shortly after World War II. They detail Dragovich's discovery of the German biochemical weapon, Nova 6, and illustrates his ruthlessness as he murders his own soldiers to witness the effects of the weapon, including Reznov's close friend, Dmitry Petrenko. This mission ends with Reznov asking Mason to promise him that Petrenko's death will be avenged, and Dragovich, along with his allies Kravchenko and Steiner, will be killed. The interrogation moves back to 1968, and Mason describes how he and the rest of his squad from the SOG fight their way through Viet Cong-controlled territory in an ultimately futile attempt to chase an elusive Kravchenko, and are later sent to locate and investigate a downed Soviet plane containing Nova 6. During this investigation, Mason, Woods, and Bowman are captured by the Viet Cong. Again, the perspective switches to Agent Hudson, who is sent on a mission to infiltrate the base Clark mentioned in the Ural Mountains, a suspected development center of Nova 6. The control room of the facility is rigged with explosives in a trap set by Dragovich. But Hudson's team is contacted remotely by Dr. Steiner, who gives his location and promises, in exchange for safety from Dragovich's systematic elimination of loose ends, information on cracking the numbers broadcast. After this mission is completed, Mason describes to his interrogator how Bowman was killed while imprisoned, and how he and Woods escaped from their Viet Cong captors. Mason and Woods fight across a vast swath of Vietnamese land in a stolen helicopter to reach Kravchenko's base. At this base, Mason again meets Reznov, who leads him through the base towards Kravchenko. They confront Kravchenko and Woods stabs him, but Kravchenko pulls the pins off 4 grenades strapped to his chest, forcing Woods to sacrifice himself by tackling Kravchenko out a window. In a huge explosion, Mason presumes the two dead. Mason and Reznov then recover the documents that lead them to Rebirth Island, the location of Dr. Steiner. Mason's story converges with Hudson's at Rebirth Island as both fight their way through a Soviet Nova 6 research and production facility to reach Dr. Steiner. Hudson engages in an all-out assault on the facility with light armor and a squad of CIA operatives, while Mason sneaks into the facility with Reznov. Mason and Reznov reach Steiner only shortly before Hudson and Weaver, and Mason watches as Reznov murders Steiner. However, when the same story is retold through Hudson's eyes, it is revealed that it was, in fact, Mason alone who shot Steiner, while exclaiming that he was Reznov and would have revenge. The flashbacks end and the interrogation continues. Hudson reveals himself and Weaver to be the interrogators and confronts Mason face to face. In this mission, Hudson reveals that while at Vorkuta, Mason was subjected to severe mental reconditioning in order to turn him into a sleeper agent who would perform Soviet missions in America, including assassinating President Kennedy. However, Reznov hijacked his programming and used it to instill in Mason an absolute devotion to complete Reznov's vow for revenge: kill Dragovich, Kravchenko, and Steiner. Reznov never escaped Vorkuta, but died during the breakout attempt, and the Soviet defector in Hugh actually died before Mason reached him. Mason's visions of Reznov are a result of a dissociative disorder caused by the traumatic brainwashing program. Hudson reveals that Dragovich has sleeper cells placed all over the United States, which, when ordered by the numbers broadcast, will unleash Nova 6 in every state capital in the country. As a result, the United States is now at DEFCON 2 and preparing a preemptive nuclear strike on the Soviet Union. Hudson further explains that the CIA needed Steiner alive to decipher the numbers broadcasts for them so they could abort the Nova 6 release, but with his death, Mason is the only person left who has any knowledge regarding the number station and its location. As the reprogramming of Mason's brain is finally broken, Mason recalls the origin of the numbers broadcast, a ship off the shore of Cuba called the Rusalka. A CIA raid on the Rusalka begins, with Mason and Hudson infiltrating the underwater base protecting the ship, and Hudson calling the United States Navy to destroy the Rusalka. In the lower levels of the facility, Hudson and Mason confront Dragovich, and Mason strangles and drowns him to death before escaping with Hudson. He then regroups with Weaver, who declares victory. Archive footage of President Kennedy prior to his assassination on November 22, 1963 is shown, revealing Mason was among onlookers who watched Kennedy disembark from Air Force One at Love Field. His presence and Dragovich's taunt before his death suggest that Mason may have carried out his initial program. A hidden message that can be accessed in the game's main menu reveals Woods survived the confrontation with Kravchenko and is now incarcerated at the Hanoi Hilton. Overall, the campaign delivered. I was left satisfied completing the game. I enjoyed every second of it. Nothing left me bored or annoyed with certain gameplay at all. After that, I went to replay the multiplayer for the first time in almost a decade. The way Treyarch made the multiplayer for this game was fantastic. From all the new innovations to the old gameplay mechanics, everything was great. Treyarch introduced COD points, but not like we know today. You would earn COD points by leveling up or completing challenges, or even competing in wager matches. With those COD points, you could then unlock and equip weapons and attachments of your choice, along with perks and even the grenades. This was a new thing for Call of Duty, and Black Ops perfected it straight away. After using those COD points to create a class, I was ready to hop into a game. With Plutonium installed, I was able to join a populated game of Black Ops 1 in 2022. While the maps didn't feel too familiar, I was able to enjoy myself. I felt every painful moment I had when I lost the score streak I was so close to getting. I could compare the experience to how fun Black Ops 2 is. The gunplay was fantastic, and the pace of the game felt right. However, I was left with one problem: the sound design. Anytime I heard a shotgun or an explosion, it left me almost annoyed with them. They seem to be reused too often, but that didn't stop me from having a good time. Black Ops brought Nuketown to the scene, a 1950s nuclear testing facility that was based off of a suburb to demonstrate the effects of a nuclear weapon being used on a residential area. Nuketown is a now iconic map in the Treyarch map pool, and compared to Shipment from the Modern Warfare series, it is small and has extremely close quarter combat. The maps brought to Black Ops were amazing. They had great layouts and all played fantastic. Black Ops released with 14 maps and later brought on 12 more for a total of 26 maps. There's a total of 4 map packs: First Strike, Escalation, Annihilation, and Resurrection. First Strike brought Berlin Wall, Discovery, Kowloon, and Stadium along with the Zombies map Ascension. Escalation introduced the maps Zoo, Convoy, Hotel, and Stockpile, along with Call of the Dead for Zombies. Annihilation brought Hangar 18, Silo, Hazard, and Drive-In with the Zombies map Shangri-La. The Resurrection map pack brought in Zombies maps Moon and 4 maps from World at War including Nacht der Untoten, Verrückt, Shino Numa, and Der Riese. One thing I really liked about the map packs is how they spelled out fear when you put the first letter of each one in a row. For only $15, each map pack delivered. You paid once and got the experience of a lifetime. Definitely a worthwhile purchase. You didn't feel pressured into getting these either. You still had the core elements of the game without getting them. Treyarch instead made something we wanted to buy, and made us maps we could replay without feeling bored, especially with the Zombies maps. While I don't remember multiplayer too much from when I was a kid, I still remember the memories made on Zombies. However, it wasn't so much because of the maps themselves. I formed bonds with other kids from school by just playing the game. I made friends because of Black Ops 1 Zombies. I remember loading up Kino and having fun until I was finally told to go to bed. Even then, I would fake sleeping just to get back on an hour later. After all map packs were released, there were a total of 11 maps to choose from. Kino der Toten, 5, Dead Ops Arcade, Ascension, Call of the Dead, Shangri-La, and Moon. The Resurrection DLC also gave us Nacht der Untoten, Verrückt, Shino Numa, and Der Riese from World at War. Overall, this is absolutely one of the greatest Call of Duty games ever released. The storyline, the characters, the actors, and historical value this game has makes it easily one of the best in the series. The multiplayer had great map layouts and fantastic combat. The Zombies brought even more to the table by expanding on what they had done with World at War. The replayability, the storyline, the great multiplayer, and amazing zombies makes this game stand out from the rest. I'd like to hear your thoughts and opinions on Black Ops in the comments below. Again, these videos take a long time to make. I would really appreciate a like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe for more content like this in the future. I don't have an outro. Peace.
Mason! It is over. We won.
For now.